Good afternoon. Hello everyone and welcome to UWA's 2021 Updates webinar for high school staff. My name is Annie Buckridge and I'm part of the school engagement team here at the University of Western Australia. We have lots of people signing in from across the state, which is pretty fantastic. We've got high school staff from both metro and regional schools. Hello. Here at UWA, we're also practicing social distancing and we have staff logged from across Perth, and today we're meeting on different lands. However, I'm based here on Whadjuk land and I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Noongar people, the traditional owners of and the custodians of the land that we are meeting on today, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. We hope that the start of term has been a little more settled than the end of last term. What a time it's been. But first off, I'd like to acknowledge you folks. Thank you for your continued passion for young people, supporting them when times are tough. Your role matters. UWA is committed to keeping relevant and ensuring our education, not only what we offer, but how we teach, is valuable to future generations. As UWA's first university, we have a long-standing history of quality education. And as we all know, in 2020, the university has been implementing changes at an unprecedented pace. So why are we expanding now? Well, taking into account market considerations, how our current students are studying, and what industries are demanding, this identified some gaps in our offerings. Any new courses or majors take serious consideration to bring on board, with a number of approval processes, not only with the faculties, but within the greater university. We worked with current students and industry to make these proactive and exciting decisions to take UWA further. We're excited for the future, to equip and make sure students thrive in the new work order. So for those who are familiar with UWA offerings, this is not a briefing across all our courses, but actually this webinar is focusing on the additions, the new courses and the offerings. These additions are not replacing any existing offerings we have, but actually we're expanding. Really, this briefing is an open forum and an opportunity to ask questions. We're consciously hosting this briefing prior to our open day as we value your roles in schools. Our open day is this Sunday, and we recommend not only to encourage it for your students, but for yourself to continue exploring. So, for the schedule, we've got a good 90 minutes planned with you today. We've got UWA representatives covering each of the interest areas that we have new offerings. They'll present for around 15 minutes, and then we'll have about 5 minutes after for live Q&A. For this briefing, we have representatives from the Faculty of Arts, Business, Science, Engineering and Math Sciences. We have both staff presenting on the information, but also working in the background supporting questions. We have a dedicated cross-faculty team assisting in the background to provide the right advice and information, so make sure to reach out to us as we go. So we're using Slido today for this briefing, and so only myself and the other presenters will have audio and video. But we do want to hear from you. To join in, you can submit your questions and upvote common ones. So keep checking that and participating throughout the briefing. You'll be able to navigate this on the left-hand side of your screen. We'll also be recording the session with transcript, so you'll be able to access this information at a later date, or if you'd like to share with your colleagues. If you are having any technical difficulties, please contact one of our team members at events@uwa.edu.au. All right, so now let's get into it and kick off with an overview of UWA's courses and pathways. I'm now going to introduce my lovely colleague, Dilkash Parabia. Dilkash has been part of the school engagement team for over 3 years now, so I'm sure a lot of you will see a friendly and familiar face. Over to you, Dilkash.
All right, thank you, Annie. And hi, everyone. It's lovely to have you here with us today. So I'm going to kick off the webinar by covering a few basics, firstly with the different study areas offered at UWA, the entry pathways for Year 12s and applications, the specific bachelor degrees we do offer and the ATAR requirements, followed by our direct pathways and also our new accelerated pathways program. So for the next slide, So at UWA, we divide our courses into 10 different interest areas. So you can see them here on the screen. UWA has expanded undergraduate course offerings in ways that respond to the medium and longer term needs of Western Australian economy, industry and society. Our industry and community partners have identified the need for skills that address the opportunities of automation, artificial intelligence and robotics, as well as the social consequences of the technological transformation within WA's changing demographic profile. Throughout today's webinar, we will share specific information about UWA's course expansion within these specific areas. For the next slide, thank you. As many of you are aware, entry pathways for graduating Year 12 students looks a little bit different this year. Yes, students can still go through ATAR, and this is necessary for some courses such as medicine, dental medicine, pharmacy, and podiatric medicine, which is still an application through TISC as well. Students can also use their predicted ATAR or reports from Year 11 or Year 12 Semester 1 to gain entry. And finally, the Special Tertiary Admissions Test, or STAT, is also available for high school leavers for students on an ATAR or non-ATAR pathway. So moving for the next slide for applications. Applications are currently open and the students can apply for even the new courses through the UWA application portal, which is something that's very exciting. So new 2021 entry pathways for school leavers, students can already apply through the UWA application portal, and there are a lot of benefits also for students who are accepting their offers now. So one of the biggest benefits that we do have for the students is they can access what we call the Future Careers tool. It's a module that they can access for self-awareness through the UWA Careers and which will go towards the UWA Careers and Employability Award. There will also be a discovery workshop for students to attend later in the year. And we're offering exclusive opportunity for students to access the UWA Careers and Employability Centre package. Completing the workshops that are set up for these students when they do accept their offers, it includes them to find out what kind of jobs are out there. What if they're not sure exactly what to study, but they're thinking about those different things? We can help them with those decisions. What's work integrated learning for them, and early access to the Career Centre and support as well. So we do encourage students to utilise these opportunities available for them through this entry pathway. So moving on to the next slide, all the interest areas mentioned, the 10 different interest areas, they fit into these particular bachelor degrees. Within the course expansion, we've also had a change of ATAR requirements. So as you can see here, a Bachelor of Business, Environmental Design, Music and Arts has a minimum requirement of an ATAR of 75, with Commerce, Science and Biomedical Science, an ATAR of 80. The Bachelor of Automation and Robotics requires an ATAR of 88. Bachelor of Advanced Computer Science, which is an honours degree attached to it, which is a 4-year degree, requires a 92 ATAR. And our Bachelor of Philosophy, which is also a 4 years program with honours, requires an ATAR of 98. The next slide will show you specifically something exciting that we finally launched also is our ATARs for Broadway schools. So Broadway is schools that have been identified by a few different types of criteria. It could be the ICSEA score for the school, if they are also regionally or remotely located, or also if they're a school of isolated and distance education. So with the Broadway bonus points for ATAR, you can see that the ATAR is a bit lower, which is on the screen. These ATARs will apply to Broadway schools across the board. So unlike previous years where you might have seen a Tier A or a Tier B list for Broadway, that won't be happening. It'll just be one specific Broadway ATAR score that's needed across the schools. So this information will be made live on our website in the upcoming weeks as well. Now that we've seen the ATAR requirements, we do have the different pathways into our courses. So we do have the direct pathway for high achieving students, for school leavers who've already decided a career path that they really want and are encouraged to take advantage of this professional pathway package. It basically combines the undergraduate degree with the postgraduate degree where you have an assured spot in that postgraduate program. Students still need to complete that bachelor degree, but then yes, they have that spot waiting for them in that postgraduate program. In addition to this, something new that we've introduced is the accelerated pathways. So for the next slide, we'll see that we've got the accelerated pathways, which is something very new that some of you may only just be hearing about as well. So accelerated pathways are our combined bachelor's and master's degree. The ATAR is 90, and for Broadway schools, students may gain entry into these particular programs with an ATAR of 85. We have created a pathway for students to basically combine their bachelor's and master's degree in a 4-year programs. And students will be able to do this by completing a semester in their 3rd year, where they do more advanced level of study, and a full year then added to that with postgraduate study. There may also be a possibility for students who do not receive the minimum ATAR for the combined master's and bachelor's program to enter this pathway based on how well they perform in their 1st year at UWA within these specific specializations. Students do have the option for an exit award after 3 years if they wish to not continue on for that 4th year of study, and they would graduate from an advanced bachelor degree. And lastly, with the next slide, we do also have the graduate pathway. So with the graduate pathway, students can study a bachelor degree, and then when they're ready to decide to maybe do a postgraduate program, they can do so. And that can be to either further specialize within their bachelor degree and career, or it could be to even have a change of career path. So that's really it from me about a quick overview of the different things that we are now offering, as well as the new pathways and entry requirements. So I'll now pass it back to Annie.
Hi everyone. Thanks so much for participating in the webinar. I'm just checking our Slido tool and noticing you're all being a little quiet with your questions. So let's take a deep dive into the next section. And, if you have any questions regarding Dilkash's presentation, we can come back and address them later. Awesome, thanks so much, Dilkash. So let's now take a deep dive into one of the new offerings within the humanities, social sciences, business, and creative interest areas. I'd love to introduce Professor Phil Hancock, who is the Associate Dean of Learning and Teaching at the Faculty of UWA Arts, Business, Law and Education. Professor Phil Hancock is going to talk through the new offerings within this interest area in more detail. Over to you, Phil.
Thanks, Annie. And hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to this webinar. As Annie said, I'm the Associate Dean, Learning and Teaching in the Faculty of Arts, Business, Law and Education, which is quite a large faculty, comprising 7 schools and 1 department. So it's my pleasure to actually walk you through the new degrees that are being offered by Fable, and give you a bit of background on them, and then potentially answer any questions you might have. Right, so we'll have the next slide, please. So as you can see, 5 new degrees being offered by the faculty. Bachelor of Business is a new degree, and we'll talk about that in detail and compare it to the Bachelor of Commerce, which we've been offering for many, many years. We then have one of these combined Bachelor and Master's courses that Dilkash mentioned. So an opportunity to shorten the pathway for a student to gain both a Bachelor and Master's. And then the Bachelor of Environmental Design. We did have a Bachelor of Design a few years ago. We've actually put in essentially a similar degree back in. Bachelor of Music, which is obviously another new degree. At the moment, embedded in the Bachelor of Arts as a double major. So it's a new degree, which is quite exciting. And the final one, the Bachelor of Philosophy, Politics and Economics. So next slide, please. So many universities offer a Bachelor of Business. Some offer a Bachelor of Business and a Bachelor of Commerce, like the University of Queensland, Monash and others. So the business school decided last year that we should also look at offering a Bachelor of Business to provide another product, another opportunity for students. So yes, there's a difference in terms of the ATAR entry score, but that's not the only difference by a long shot. The Bachelor of Business, as you can see, has 3 majors. The students must do one of those majors. So business management, enterprise and innovation, or global business, and those sorts of areas are certainly in demand, both from employers and students, obviously. The Bachelor of Commerce, with the ATAR of 80, offers the discipline-specific knowledge, so accounting, finance, economics as a single major, marketing, management, business law, and human resource management. Now, so what are the differences between the Bachelor of Business and Bachelor of Commerce besides the ATAR? Well, one difference is that the Commerce degree, as it says on the slide, focuses a little more on quantitative skills, but that doesn't mean we ignore qualitative skills. On the contrary, they're obviously important for all graduates, but certainly the quantitative skills. So a maths requirement is a prerequisite for the BCom, it's not for the Bachelor of Business. And that certainly for some students is going to be a beneficial difference. So looking at the Bachelor of Business, as you can see, focusing on broad cross-disciplinary type knowledge. So the business management one is a combination of a marketing and management sort of background. So catering to a broader knowledge base compared to the more specific discipline-based majors in commerce. So if a student wanted to be an accountant, Bachelor of Commerce would be the one they'd probably pursue. That doesn't mean they can't do the accounting major as part of the Bachelor of Business, however. So, so they're the differences, and I'm sure you might have questions about those differences later on. But for now, let's move on to the next slide, which gives us a bit more background about the Bachelor of Business. So one of the things you can see is this capstone requirement. So one of the benefits of many degrees is having this experiential learning opportunity. In fact, our new Vice-Chancellor made specific mention today in a town hall about the benefits of experiential learning, which is important from his previous university. So the Bachelor of Business degree will require, in a capstone unit, a real-world experience. So through an internship or an industry-based project, so a capstone experience is what we'll be expecting. And clearly the assessment requirements will be applying discipline-specific knowledge to look at real-world problems. Again, that doesn't mean we don't look at real-world problems in the Bachelor of Commerce. So career pathways, they're listed there. I'm not going to go through them. Management consultants, HR manager, particularly because enterprise and innovation is one of the majors. Students wanting to start their own business may well be attracted to this as well. And learning those practical and relevant business skills across all those areas. So that's the Bachelor of Business. So it is going to be a little bit different to the Bachelor of Commerce, particularly with that focus on the industry type project internship as the capstone experience. And as I say, there's no requirement for those maths requirement to enter the BBUS. Next slide, please. So this is an exciting opportunity as well. As Dilkash mentioned, this is a combined Bachelor and Masters in Economics, which allows a student to complete the Bachelor and Masters in 4 years. Hence the ATAR requirement of 90, because the students clearly have to have the ability to move into this accelerated pathway. It's very exciting. Our economics graduates, the professional economics double major is what a student would currently do in the Bachelor of Commerce if they wanted to pursue a career as an economist, work in the Reserve Bank, for instance. So this opportunity to do the Bachelor of Economics, an advanced Bachelor of Economics as part of the combined degree with Masters is a really exciting new opportunity for our students. The business schools accredited, just to note that across the major accrediting bodies are both EQUIS, which is a European accrediting body, and AACSB, which is a North American accrediting body, and we're also registered with the Principles of Responsible Management, PRIME. And so it's we're the only business school to have both EQUIS and AACSB in WA. See plenty of career opportunities, both in the government sector, public sector, private sector, professional firms, small business, plenty of opportunities for employment with that degree. Next one, please. So the Bachelor of Environmental Design, as I mentioned, the Bachelor of Design was a degree which we previously had. The design, architecture, career pathway being part of the Bachelor of Arts was sort of not a clear signal to students about where they needed to go if they wanted to become an architect. So for those reasons, a Bachelor of Environmental Design we've created, and it is obviously a pathway into the architecture, landscape architecture, and the environmental geography and planning, which is a new single major. So our design degree and the master's degrees all have obviously a lot of technical content, design studios, and some of the work that students produce, which of course is part of their assessment, which is assessed by panels, which includes architects themselves, and they produce some amazing work and field work and so on. So there's plenty of experiential work in the Bachelor of Environmental Design, including obviously a lot of those skills required in the workplace, and articulated into our master's degrees: urban and regional planning, architecture, landscape architecture, and environmental planning. So the Bachelor of Environmental Design is really the degree that when students want to become an architect, that's where they'd enrol, and that would then articulate into one of those postgraduate degrees. And again, the ATAR entry for that, like the Bachelor of Business, is 75. Next slide, please. The Bachelor of Music. This is obviously another exciting development for us. The Bachelor of Music essentially is taking what is the double major in the current Bachelor of Arts. Again, somewhat hidden, if you like, as part of the Bachelor of Arts. And so the Bachelor of Music gives it clearly a separate identity. And the Conservatorium of Music is certainly highly regarded. Obviously participates in many events around the community, Festival of Perth, and so plenty of opportunities for our students to get real practical experience working alongside some of Australia's best musicians in a lot of different instruments. So the double major, again, the ATAR entry score is 75. The double major in Western art or creative music technology specialisations. That's still possible in the Bachelor of Arts, which also has now an ATAR entry score of 75 for students to do a single major in music general studies, music studies. And one that's been really popular with our students is electronic music and sound design. Opportunities where you can see performers, composers, perhaps the next Beethoven is going to be one of our graduates, DJs, creative artists, and then of course into administration, teaching, even music psychologists. So as it says there, requirement in our Bachelor of Music is all students must perform, obviously, participate in ensembles. It's a mandatory requirement each year as they progress through the degree, and they are working alongside, as I said before, local international artists of high repute. And so the experiential requirement is very high in this degree as well. Next one, please. So this is the final one from Fable, a Bachelor of Philosophy, Politics and Economics. It's a degree that's offered elsewhere. It's certainly a degree that gives broad coverage across clearly those discipline areas. So it's a challenging degree. It was a double major in the BA, but it's now got its own identity. So again, the ATAR score to entry is 90. Certainly looking at and applying the tools of economics and political science to understand the degree we can why political parties tend to adopt particular policy platforms. And so the philosophical approach and arguments are really important. And obviously our philosophy area, critical thinking, is a really important and valuable part of our philosophy major. So again, students doing this degree will be well refined in terms of their critical skills, their communication skills, all of the sort of skills that our employers are looking for. transferable skills, as all my staff know, I call them. They're not soft skills. They are anything but soft. They're hard. So combining those really good skills of analysing, problem solving, communicating with those discipline areas of philosophy, politics and economics. So the opportunities are great for employment. And certainly, again, an opportunity to do work integrated learning unit. We have a work integrated learning unit in Fable, and we have 200 to 300 students each year participating in an internship across a broad range of areas. And so that's certainly an opportunity here. We're working on a number of opportunities now with some of our government agencies, some quite exciting ones, looking at, for instance, the impact of the COVID-19 on export opportunities. So we're working with one of the government agencies on that with a team of our students. So some really good opportunities to engage in experiential learning. Career opportunities clearly into the public sector, whether you're working in the Department of Premier, in Treasury, or any of the ministerial type offices, and obviously in the private sector as well. Political and economic journalists, great opportunities there. Policy advisors, I should say, into government and so on. So a broad range of opportunities for graduates from our Bachelor of Philosophy, Politics and Economics. And I think that gets us to Q&A from me. Yes, okay. Now, this is the challenging part. When I now look at the Q&A. So, good question. Which is in more demand for jobs, business versus commerce? My response to that would be both, really. Again, there'll be it's horses for courses. Certainly, business graduates will be in demand in certain sectors. Commerce graduates, as I mentioned before, if you want to be say a finance specialist working in a bank or an accountant working in a professional services firm, you'd probably gravitate towards a Bachelor of Commerce more than the Bachelor of Business. But they'll each have their own employer demands. So I think they'll both be equally popular depending on the employment sector. What sort of postgraduate degrees could a Bachelor of Philosophy, Politics and Economics graduate go into? That's a really good question. I know we've got our coordinator of the Bachelor of Philosophy, Politics and Economics on hand to perhaps also look at that question, but a broad range of postgraduate degrees really. So within the business school, we have the Master of Economics, we have a Master of Commerce. In the arts area, we've got the Master of International Relations. So there's a range of our postgraduate degrees which these students could go into. What is the difference between Western art specialisation and creative music technology? Now that's one I'll have to defer to my colleagues in that area to answer that one. And again, we've got our colleagues on hand, so Andrew Foote will certainly be able to answer that one with much more detail than I could. I think that's it for me, yes. Sorry, what major would you recommend if I enjoyed accounting at school? Well, I would hope everyone that does accounting enjoys accounting. You did note I'm Professor of Accounting, so obviously I will say that. The accounting major, yes, certainly accounting major. Many of our students combine accounting and finance. That's a very popular double major. In fact, it's the most popular double major. So certainly if you like accounting at school, then it's the accounting major for sure. And as I say, many students will combine that with finance. I think that's all, Annie, unless, yes, that's all, I think.
Excellent.
So back to you, Annie.
Thank you so much, Professor Hancock. That was really informative. I loved you talking through all of them. They're such really exciting bachelors and makes me want to go back to uni.
Good.
Thank you so much. Excellent.
Thanks.
All right, let's move into our next deep dive within the sciences interest area. I would love to introduce Chloe Leopold, who is the Senior Student Experience Officer within the Faculty of Science. So Chloe really helps students with tasks such as selecting and designing a study plan, or selecting even units or extracurricular opportunities, or the work integrated placements that Phil just talked through. So Chloe's going to talk a little bit more about these different courses and majors. So over to you, Chloe.
Thanks so much, Annie. It's wonderful to be here to share a little bit about some of the updates for the Faculty of Science. I'm really excited because it is an opportunity for you guys to hear a bit about what's been happening at UWA and what we have scheduled ready for 2021. So let's dive into it and have a look at some of the new and improved single majors as well as some of the double majors that have become available. So let's have a look at the next slide. Cool. So here we can see there's some similarities between our previously offered majors where we have actually combined feedback from some of our industry partners and connections, as well as the insights we've gained around the employment destinations that are coming through. So this is what has resulted in these new and improved single majors and double majors. So as an example, some really popular areas that we've had from students and industry include stuff in the environmental science space. So this has resulted in environmental science, environmental management, as well as agribusiness, agricultural technology to be fields that we're evolving in our undergraduate level. So something you may already be aware of is we already offer a lot of research within this space as a university. So we're just looking at enhancing this particular study area for the new high school leavers, so to speak. And then something that is also quite new for us is the double major combinations listed on the right-hand side. So there's a few key areas where we're thinking a lot of students are going to uptake from next year. So let's have a look at the next slide and we can hear a bit more about some of the career prospects. So if you get a student that is interested in studying in something within the agricultural and environment space, then what we're suggesting is have a bit of a think of a couple of the first majors that the student might be interested in, but they do have these doors open for them once they complete their bachelor's. So things such as, for instance, if they study agribusiness, they could go into agri-food, farm selections, they could work in business financial advising, they could be a farm manager, or they could be someone that goes around and does consulting for different farms around Australia. So that's one really cool aspect you could share with your students. So let's have a look at another study area, or what we like to call specific study field. So in the next slide, we'll see a bit about the biological science potential career opportunities. One that is really popular is marine biology and marine science. So we actually offer a lot of really hands-on practical opportunities for students in the science space. So if you're studying in the marine biology, marine science, at that undergrad level, you even get to go out on field placements, you gain the experience of working in ecology systems, you do different project testings with collaboration with some of our external industry partners, as well as collaborating in groups of current students. So this particular biological science space is one where we've enhanced to include things like wildlife conservation as a new major, and along with the option of doing the double majors as well. So that's really cool. Let's have a look at the next field. So the next field is the earth sciences. I've got a bit of a soft spot for this one. So a new area that has been evolved is the combination of geochemistry and geology to create the geochemistry major. This has come about based off collaboration with some of our external providers, as well as feedback from current students who have already chosen in the past to take geology as a separate major and to take chemistry as their second major. So now we're creating this major to be morphed into one, but also creating very specific units for mineral processing and working in that energy sector. So yeah, that's just a few little top tips about that one. Let's have a look at the next slide. Cool. So another area that we have developed, which we're very passionate about here in science, is the brand new combined bachelor's and master's. So the amazing thing about this course is instead of a student taking their bachelor's first and then going on to study their master's secondary, it's designed to be a full course study plan where it reduces their time at university because they're just simply focusing on their area specific units. So instead of having to do broadening or elective units from outside of the science space, they're just fully focusing on that particular combined bachelor's master's that they've chosen. So another really good thing about this particular course is students actually start doing more hands-on units sooner in their studies. So for instance, in a student's first year, they already start taking in their second semester what we call level 2 units. So because they're building up and they're always focusing on the science units, they're able to start those more challenging or those more nitty-gritty based units sooner in their course, which is fantastic. Some other great aspects of this course is it is designed specifically for those high achieving students. So if a student has that 98 and they've absolutely excelled in high school, we want to congratulate them by giving them what we call an advanced bachelor's degree. So when they're applying for jobs out in the field, they can actually show for sure that they have done something a cut above the rest. So it's not the same as our standard Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Biomedical Science. They actually have a lot more hands-on interactive components, including if they're choosing to continue on and do the Masters, which is combined with their studies, they get that hands-on research aspect as well, which is fabulous. So this course may, be quite appropriate for a few of your Year 12 leavers. Something that I would like to suggest is if a student doesn't get the 98er, it doesn't cancel the course out altogether for them. They do have the option of chatting with people like myself at the student office, and we can set up a study plan that sits alongside what the combined bachelor's master's students are doing. And then after their first year, they can apply to transfer into the advanced bachelor's. Of course, we want to see that they've been able to perform excellent in their first year. So as long as they're getting over that 70 weighted average mark, then we'll consider them to be able to transfer. So it's really good to know if you've got someone that's passionate about this particular course, but doesn't quite get the 90, they still have that option to go into it in the future, which is wonderful. So that's it from some of the course updates. I know you're going to hear a lot of information in this presentation, which is totally understandable. So if you come up with any other key specific questions after this presentation, you're more than welcome to guide the students specifically to talk with the future students advisors, or if it's more specific to science, then people like myself are here to help guide you through the steps. So let's take a look at a couple of the key questions that have come through. So one that I'd like to mention is, what is the difference between the Bachelor of Science versus the Advanced Bachelor's? So basically the standard Bachelor of Science will still have your key core units needed for your major or study area. So say for instance, if it's marine science, it will still be those core units. But in the advanced bachelor's, you're starting your work experience or your practical, your level 2 and 3 units sooner, because you're actually doing all of your science units straight away in your first semester and in your first year. So you're basically cancelling out some of those fun elective broadening units from other areas of study. So the really good difference between the two, both still studying in the science space, but one is just fully focusing on your science units only, whereas the Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Biomedical Science has that elective and broadening units in, which is what we've usually offered in the past. So let's have a look, see if there's another good question coming through. So another key one to consider is, what are some of our popular majors within the science space? So over the past couple of years, the key demand or the key areas that are coming through from industry employers is definitely the environmental science, marine science, botany, zoology, conservation management, to name a few, as well as in addition to the standard genetics, human biology, chemistry and physics space. So these are all very, very popular at the moment. considering we're looking at renewable resources, how we can protect and look after the planet, and also there's this growing demand for people to have this knowledge from now onwards. So yeah, they're just a couple of key questions that have come through so far. If you think of anything extra, feel free to include it in the Slido discussion, and my colleague James will be able to reply. Thank you. Back to Annie.
Thanks so much, Chloe. That was great. It was really awesome to get a deep dive into those really interesting majors and the combinations you can make. On a personal note, my husband's an environmental scientist, and I was really excited to show him these new majors. So even within the industry, they're really exciting changes. So really great stuff coming from the science interest area. So now we're going to take another deep dive and move within the engineering and math sciences interest area. I'd love to introduce Associate Professor Rachel Cardell-Oliver, who is the head of the Department of Computer Science and Software Engineering. Joining her is also Professor Thomas Braunel from Electrical Engineering at UWA. They're now going to talk through the new offerings within this interest area in more detail. Over to you both. Hi everyone, just another shout out to see if Rachel is there. If not, Thomas, as a very supportive and agile colleague, would you like to move on and start off with your presentation first?
Yeah, we can start with the Bachelor of Automation and Robotics. If you just advance the slides to that one, please. Yeah, welcome everyone. My name is Thomas Braunel. I'm a professor in electrical engineering. On the left, you see one of the robots that we're using, and students will encounter this one. I'm very happy to present to you the new Bachelor of Automation and Robotics. And next slide, please. So we've introduced this as a very broad degree, and this is a double degree, so you've heard about this before. So students will take engineering subjects from mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and software engineering. It's very broad, it's very deep, with specialized units in automation and robotics, advanced units for students to study within their bachelor degree. We will cover many aspects of automation and robotics, Industry 4.0, up to self-driving vehicles like the one you see on the left here. So with the dual major, this is a deeper degree than any individual engineering degree we had in the past. We'll have a couple of new units that are being introduced, especially one on mechatronics and one on automation, plus the existing unit on robotics. After 3 years, students will have the chance to either graduate or continue as a pathway to one of the masters in engineering in one of the 3 disciplines, software, mechanical, or electrical engineering. Next slide, please. So why we're introducing it, we've heard this many times at UW Open Days and other occasions that students, prospective students asking, is there a degree where we can study this? There's also the international perspective, lots of international students looking for a degree in this area. And of course, there's growing demand locally because many local businesses, many local companies are now introducing robotics techniques and automation techniques. And this will continue in the next 2 decades, that more and more automation will come to ordinary businesses, also in WA. One of the themes we have in engineering is remote systems, remote operations. So especially for applications in mining, but also for agriculture, medical applications, remote access and automation systems are a very important theme. And that's why we think students who will study this area will be best prepared for the future application sector. And next slide, please. So the entry, we have the same requirements as regular engineering as in year 12 subject requirements. It's the 2 maths ATARs plus chemistry and physics. The minimum ATAR is significantly higher than the standard engineering intake, so we require a minimum intake of 88. It's a 3-year full-time degree, and we expect that most students will continue after that with the 2 years for the Master in Professional Engineering program. So that's it for automation and robotics. I think we can go back to the computer science degrees now, if Rachel is available.
Thanks, Thomas. Before we throw to Rachel or another staff member to present on the advanced computer science, maybe we start with some questions that we've gotten regarding this exciting new bachelor's. Do you have any questions that have come through, Thomas?
Let me check.
Well, conveniently, Thomas, the staff members just passed them to me, so I do have them right in front of me, which is great. We're all working together. So to kick things off, Thomas, we've got a great question from Imogen. So why is the automation and robotics degree have a higher ATAR than the Bachelor of Science, so the engineering science, even though it really does lead to the same master's program?
The reason for this is we already include a couple of higher level units in this degree program. So we have 2 or 3 level 4 units already in that bachelor program. So we want to make sure students who enroll in this are prepared, are high achieving students who can cope with this, higher level units in the first 3 years.
Excellent, thanks for that, Thomas. We've just had another question from Catherine. Does the honours degree still happen within this course?
As far as I know, the honours is an option after the 3 years, so students could take a 4th year honours option, or they can choose the 2-year MPE option after that.
Excellent, thanks for that, Thomas. And just one other question I wanted to ask from someone listening in, which I'm just personally interested in. I suppose what are the opportunities for work placements while they're doing their degree within Perth and WA? Can you provide any insight what a typical work placement would look like for a student studying this?
Yeah, I think there's multiple work placements. So we have a number of companies where we regularly do site visits for students studying the robotics unit. So you would not believe the amount of companies that already apply automation and robotics. It ranges from manufacturing of caravans where they're using robotics to the West Australian newspaper where they have heaps of robots delivering paper for the printing machines. All the hospitals have now robotic equipment. They all have robotic pharmacies. They all have robotic services that bring linen and in some cases medication to the different wards. It's not stopping there. There's many companies, all the oil and gas companies, all the mining companies applying automation techniques. So it's a very large area and it's growing.
Thanks for that, Thomas. I think it's really important to highlight what some of the placement opportunities could be, as this is a really emerging industry, and it's really good to debunk myths and see that this is a bachelor and a course that is required across industries. I mean, on a personal level, I used to be a checkout chick when I was in high school, and so I'm a first-hand example of a role that's been automated. So it's happening now and we're living it right now. So thank you so much for that, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you.
I would love to now introduce Associate Professor Rachel Cardell-Oliver, who is the Head of Department for the Computer Science and Software Engineering here at UWA. And she's going to talk a little bit more about our new Bachelor's in Advanced Computer Science. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Annie. Can you hear me? And you're going to slip the slides? Great. Can you go to the next slide, please? So welcome everybody. I'm Rachel Cardell-Oliver. I'm the head of Department of Computer Science. And I would like to tell you about our extension on the Bachelor of Advanced Computer Science Honours. Now this is a 4-year degree. It's actually 3 degrees in one. We have Artificial Intelligence, International Cybersecurity, and Computing and Data Science. They're effectively double majors in this 4-year degree. And then at the end, I'll also tell you a little bit about the new standard major in cybersecurity. Next slide. Okay, so the Bachelor of Advanced Computer Science is a 4-year specialist in-depth degree. In each of those majors, you will focus, for example, on artificial intelligence. One of the standout points of our AI major, I think, is that students will also study philosophy and ethics, because in the areas that AI is being applied now, ethics is actually of crucial importance. The second major is Computing and Data Science, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute, and also International Security. And again, you're studying the technical subject of cybersecurity in context. So the context is international relations, because technical cybersecurity doesn't sit on its own. Things are insecure because of people and because of, so it's very important that our students know both. They're a 4-year full-time integrated honours degree, and the prerequisites for this course are ATAR 92 and Maths Methods ATAR. And just as Thomas has explained, the reason that the entry for these degrees is higher than our standard majors is that the students are taking an accelerated program. They're taking a number of higher level 4 and 5 level courses by the time they've finished. And so they will need this to prepare them for that course. So next. Why study? It's, well, there's some generic things here, of course, about developing personal skills and learning in demand skills. But actually, if you go to the next one, I think the reason that's really going to appeal to students about, oh, sorry, that was another one coming up, is the jobs market. I'll come to that in a minute. I'll tell you what's in the courses first. So the next one of what these subjects are. So one thing at Open Day, sorry, can you go to the next slide? At Open Day, the question we're always asked is, what's the difference between all these majors and all these degrees you have? So let me tell you briefly what these subjects are. So intelligence is what we think humans do when they take in information, process that information, make plans, and carry out, execute those plans. And so artificial intelligence is the study of how can we program machines to do those things. So for example, how can they understand images or texts or sound? How can we program a machine to make a plan? How can we program a machine to be creative, etc.? That's what the study of artificial intelligence is. Computing and data science are computation, algorithms, software, and statistics for making sense of data. We're in an age of big data where we're generating more data than the world's ever seen before. And the graduates of computing and data science are the ones who will know what to do with that. And finally, cybersecurity are the techniques to provide assured operations in the context of adversaries. So for years, we've taught people how to build computer systems, but as our world gets more and more complex, we realize that those computer systems are under threat. And cybersecurity is about how do you build secure systems in the context of those threats. Remembering that the threats are not just technical, they're almost always, the problems come through people. So it's a very interdisciplinary study, data, software, but also human, organizational, societal causes. And that's why I mentioned that students in the international cybersecurity stream will also study international relations. Okay, next slide. Career opportunities, that's what I was going to mention. Why should students study AI, data science, or international cybersecurity? Because these all three are in the top 10 or so emerging jobs at the moment. So the biggest number of startups in Australia is in artificial intelligence. Data science is hiring in almost every industry. So industries that don't have much of an IT presence still need to process and make sense of their data. And cybersecurity, I think the prediction for required people just in Australia is something like 20,000 by 2023. So there's a huge demand for people in all of these fields. Next step. Okay, so those are the advanced degrees, but and the advanced degree is a very well-tailored, beautifully designed program in which you really study one of those three streams in great depth. But the other possibility that UWA offers are these flexible degrees where you take a major in one subject and then your second major or your other units can be in another field. So this enables you to match different interests a lot more. So we already have a major in computer science and we have a major in data science. And from 2021, we will have a major in cybersecurity. So this is a major in the Bachelor of Science. You could combine it with psychology, you could combine it with computer science, you could combine it with any other subject. This is like our standard majors. The entry is an 8R of 80. And the prerequisites are maths methods or maths applications with an additional mathematics unit taken in the first year. So the question that's just come in, can I combine majors from other areas? Oh, with this one, yes, with the Bachelor of Science cybersecurity major, but with the Bachelor of Advanced Computer Science, that's a much more full program. So there are still 6 units, but probably not enough space to make another major unless it was in ethics or international relations, for example. Cybersecurity experts are in high demand, yep. So huge growth area at the moment because companies are just becoming really aware of how vulnerable their systems might be and how important it is to protect those systems. Okay, so that's an overview. Some questions. Do you want me to just read from these? Okay, so what's the difference between cybersecurity in the Bachelor of Science and international cybersecurity? The flippant answer is about 10 units. So the cybersecurity in the Bachelor of Science is a 10-unit major. And that means that students can combine it with another subject. International cybersecurity is a full program and it's a 4-year degree. So the standard majors, cybersecurity, are 3-year majors within the Bachelor of Science, which students don't necessarily take honours. Will we increase what courses are offered through the advanced? No, that's not for me, is it? Can you combine majors from other areas with new ones? Yes. What are ICT career paths? That is paths in information and communications technology. So in data, in computer science, in artificial intelligence. So any career paths associated with computing. That's all the questions I can see. Annie, is there?
Thanks so much, Rachel. That was excellent. I was glad to have you back on. I was worried I was going to have to present on advanced computer science. So really appreciate you being here and going through that detail. And again, really thank you to both Thomas and yourself for doing a deep dive within such a really exciting area of science. I mean, having those federal investments to guarantee jobs is always a really nice carrot when considering certain areas of study. And so having government to really back this industry is super exciting. So can't wait to see this roll out next year. Excellent. So we're now going to jump back to Dilkash from the school engagement team, as we have had a couple of questions come through the webinar while we've been rolling through, and really just want to make sure that we address these questions while we're all together. So I'm now going to pass over to Dilkash, who's going to talk through a little more detail about those questions. Thank you.
All right, hi everyone. So I do have some questions here. So one of them is, can I still be able to combine majors from other areas with the new ones? So yes, you will be able to combine the different majors within the degrees that you can do that. Like Chloe mentioned, we do have what we call student experience officers in all the different faculties at UWA, and you can actually sit and talk to them. So another encouragement that we have for students to also accept their offers now is by doing that, they're actually current students and they can have access to these staff to actually create those study plans and get that head start and start looking at those different courses and the different majors available to them within the different areas. What other questions do we have? So another question we do have is why the ATARs have changed for some of the courses, which so we have had a change in the ATAR requirement for some of our bachelor degrees, and that's really been what we've seen in the past with research, is that students who have gotten in through lower ATARs do just as well, if not sometimes even better than students with that ATAR of 18 above. So we do have that change of ATAR, knowing that students will still perform to the level and they are more than capable of taking on these bachelor degrees. Any other questions really? Not that I can see coming through here. So I'm going to now pass it back over to Annie to wrap up.
Thanks so much, Dilkash. If there are any questions, feel free to pop them into the channel and we'll keep answering them as we go. All right. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in and being part of this briefing. We have had lots of people tune in to hear from us and hope that you've received some valuable information. I know that I have. We aim for this webinar to brief you on our new offerings that are in addition to all our existing courses and majors. UWA is expanding and we hope that you've got the information to assist your students. So moving on to next steps, we have recorded this webinar, so we will be captioning it and sending it out to our network of schools. So make sure to send that with your, to your colleagues who might find it helpful. If you would like to continue the conversation, you know we always love a yarn. You can reach out to our future students team to talk through these new offerings in more detail. We can set up a one-on-one to understand how this affects your students' schools. And we've also launched the new students, Future Students Virtual Hub. So this is a one-stop shop for all things relating to staff and students in high school. And on this hub, you'll find links to all our new courses and offerings, and also our new video, which details our course model and study plan, which is a really super handy resource to pass on to your students. If you've got no plans on Sunday, we do have our virtual open day, which is going to be heaps of fun. We'd really recommend to promote that with your students and also sign in, as we have lots of UWA staff delivering live webinars and panels to talk about these new offerings and everything else under the UWA umbrella. A survey will pop up automatically after this webinar finishes, so please take the time to provide any feedback or thoughts. But really, I just wanted to thank you so much for being part of this briefing. We really appreciate the work and support that you provide your students. And I'd also love to thank our UWA staff that have been part of this briefing today, and also the team in the background that have been answering all our questions. We look forward to come and visiting you at school or here on campus later in the year. Thank you so much for joining, and hopefully we'll see you soon. We have our staff on deck for the next 30 minutes if you'd like to ask any more questions, but if not, I'm sure to see you soon around the place. Thank you.